live. So let me press play on this.
Nice.
There we go.
Wonderful.
Pretty.
Overcome the technical challenges.
So hello there. We are talking 4 and a bit minutes away before we go live on our special. I can put all these. I've been showing Alyssa all these comics which I'm going to get signed at Thought Bubble this year, and it's a big pile. So I shall put all those back now. Yeah, Mark Buckingham. Who else have we got? Belanger, Andy Belanger, Al Ewing, Isad Ribic. I've got all these Secret Wars to get. Marguerite Bennett, who apparently I have got interview time with, but I've got to apparently arrange that nicely. Mark Lamming, Jason Latour, Charles Sewell, which is a big pile. That's bigger than I expected. Matt Taylor, Adi Granoff. A big pile of comics. So all that gets signed this weekend if I've got time.
Do you want to put me on the little preview down below?
I will do.
Yeah,
I think it's already fine. Oh, we've got a bunch of people who have tuned in on the Q&A already. Hello, everyone. Let's have a look. Chris Haggish is joining.
Oh, no.
Oh, there we go. Bringing it on. Not yet. Easy, Tiger. Checking in, saying hi from Ontario, California. Hello, Gina Licaro. How are you? Gave everyone a little bit of a preview of Alyssa there for a second.
Yeah, I'm watching it too. I mean, what's a hangout without me giggling at least once or twice?
Well, a hangout without me making a slight technical hiccup. Let's go to
I'm trying a new thing on the forum, and I have a little area below the first post where I can put forum notifications, and I have made a special one up for this hangout today. So
I'm also going to put some headphones in as well, so you can tell me if I'm sounding better or not. Oh. Here we go. Well, I know it's midday on the West Coast. Hopefully you're all fine. And I know we've got 1 or 2 viewers as well. I know that people are very interested in talking about what we've got lined up, because it is something that has gotten a lot of people talking, because everyone's got questions about how this is actually going to work. We have had some responses from David Glanzer, who we are going to, which we are going to refer to. Don't forget as well, these pictures that are on screen at the moment have been sent in to pics@anenglishmaninsandiego.com. If you do want to get your pictures in, your favorite images from your Comic-Con memories, from off-site stuff, let me know. Send them to pics@anenglishmaninsandiego.com. We'd love to see them on the screen, and we do this 5-minute countdown before every single one of our hangouts. So, well, the best we can anyway. Although I don't know how we're going to do it this Sunday, actually, because Alyssa is going to be hosting the cup of tea this weekend.
Well, we'll worry about that later. So no preview for me?
What do you mean, no preview?
On the bottom box.
No, you're there.
Okay.
It will be when it comes off screen sharing.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, we'll deal with that one during Tech Check tomorrow.
Well, I'll explain that in a second as well. 40 seconds and we'll go live. Once again, if you do want to join us, I haven't actually tweeted anything out. I've just forgotten to. So I might just very quickly just... I've got 20 seconds to tweet something out. I don't think that's going to work, do you?
Why don't you do it, and I'll try and get it done. I'll just retweet.
Well, I was just going to say, if you could do it for us, and I'll retweet you.
Yeah.
Okay. And the audio disappears. 3 seconds to go. 12 viewers, please do share that we're live, because we would absolutely love you to join us. Okay. So welcome to A Cup of Tea with an Englishman in San Diego. I don't have a cup of tea because I have been running around like a blue-ass fly today. In fact, today's been fantastic. I haven't been thinking about Comic-Con all day. I've just done a completely Comic-Con free day because I just wanted to concentrate it all in 1 hour, which is going to be our next hour. This is our one shot. We usually broadcast this on a Sunday. If you do want to join us, our Cup of Tea with an Englishman in San Diego every single Sunday. This weekend's actually going to be rather special as well, because we are going to be doing a Thought Bubble special live from Leeds, and hopefully we'll get some special guests involved in that as well. However, we're all going to be talking about on Sunday the aftermath of pre-registration 2016. So Saturday, we are all going to be gathering around our computers to, if you were an attendee of 2015 San Diego Comic-Con, hoping to get your badges for next year. We are talking 35 weeks to San Diego Comic-Con 2016, 251 days. And my name is Leonard Sultana, and I'm joined by my partner in crime, Alyssa Franks from the Friends of FoCC Forum. Hello, Alyssa. How are you?
Crazy. I have not taken a con-free day, although I did take a few minutes and reorganize my closet because, you know, what's a day of con planning without some reorganization going on? But I do have a number of things to talk about. I spent primarily most of the morning scouring the forum, Facebook, and trying to, you know, just get a sense of where people were going. Breaking news, if people haven't already heard, the email links are going out. I have received one of the 2 that I am due. So check your emails because they're there. Copy your emails, copy the links, bookmark the links, copy your codes. Don't get stuck with the member ID system crashing like it did a few years ago.
Indeed. Right. So once again, if you do want to, this is all about yourself. It's all about the questions that you've got to ask at, on the Hangout. Jumping on the Q&A, we've got a number of people already that are on the Q&A already. If you go to the Google Plus event, or you can communicate with us via Twitter using the hashtag #CupOTSDCC. As always, any questions that you have, do let us know. A blue ass looks good on you. I'm kind of guessing that you're on about Skull from my personal favorite webcomic. Right, so let's just jump in straight into a number of we're going to go down the list that we've made up of the various issues that could come up from the announcement on Monday. So San Diego Comic-Con, to attend this year as part of pre-registration and indeed open online, you are going to be having your badge mailed to you now. If this is, by the way, applicable if you are in the US, it's not applicable outside of North America. A lot of people are asking about how it's going to work in terms of the mailing address versus member ID. Why have we actually provided a mailing address on the member ID when we're going to be adding it to the form when it comes to the purchasing of badges as part of the pre-registration badge sale? So, Alyssa, off the top of the head, where do we want to start with this particular topic?
Mailing. First thing, thankfully, CCI put out the FAQ yesterday. If you guys haven't read it, oh my God, it's so valuable. The just how they're going to handle the mailing. There's a bunch of questions that people had about that, but bottom line, it seems to be that if you, whatever you enter in that form that you fill out towards the end of the buying process, that's where those 3 badges will go. That alleviates the questions about international buyers. It alleviates the question of, oh, I'm moving next month. I want it sent to my parents' house, or I want it sent to my alternative person, the second person of the 3 that I'm buying for. So that that FAQ that they put out was very valuable. I think the primary thing that came through in that FAQ about the badges was that particular bit of information. But there were some questions about why did I have to update my address if I have to fill it out in the form. My thoughts about that, because it's a bit of redundant information, my thoughts were that it might be because CCI may be doing some address verifications.
Yeah, that's what I suspected as well. But I also suspected it was something to do with, say, for example, if somebody was trying to game the system by having multiple member IDs, that they could look through their database and see if there was, say, 10, 15, 20 of the same address, then automatically they could start flagging those people up, I suspect. I mean, the questions that came on the comments that I saw, will they purchase it regarding single day versus, say, for example, consolidated badges. For example, we've got somebody who turned around and said, if you don't get days that you want to get some, but then you get additional days during open handle wire, it's certain days, but then wire judge gets it. I wanted to tell you, Alyssa, an idea is I was.
You're breaking up, Leonard. Quite a
sorry,
bit.
Can you? Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but your wife. It sounds like you've got a poor Wi-Fi connection, or poor connection. I think what you're talking about is single days versus consolidation, and how that's all going to work. I indeed had that same question. Say, for example, if somebody bought in pre-reg, they bought a Thursday and Sunday badge, and then in gen reg, they bought a Friday. They were able to get a Friday and Saturday badge, and they didn't click consolidate. So in theory, they'd be getting all 4 badges. Where would it be shipped to? I think is one question I had, but also, how is that how is that going to actually work? And will you be able to consolidate those 4 badges, those 4 tickets into one now? So there's some things that need to be worked out. I think the primary thing that, and Leonard and I talked about this, just so people understand, what we're trying to do today is bring out questions so that CCI can address them and answer them and think about them beforehand. We're not trying to illustrate ways that people can game the system.
Absolutely.
So but these types of little questions, I think, are the things that are going to really mess things.
She's been talking to me too much.
No, are really going to mess things up if we're not careful.
Okay.
If we're not careful.
Right. If I could put this to you then, as somebody who's used RFID technology at New York Comic Con, can the badge be turned off for days that you haven't bought? So, for example, they're working on that magic number, which is people through the door, actual attendees. So one person gets a badge for their attending of Comic-Con, whatever days they go. Can that badge be turned off, say, for example, on the Thursday that they don't get, and therefore will be denied at the door?
I would assume so. I mean, they certainly had badges for different days. Now, whether or not you can say, I want a Thursday, a Friday, skip Friday, and a Saturday and Sunday badge, and only have one badge for those 3 days, I don't think you can do that, or if I'm understanding your question correctly. But I'm going to just kind of back up here and address the premise of your question, which is that you're going to tap in and tap out. I'm not even sure that that's necessarily going to be a requirement, because if you don't have to tap in and tap out, the traffic flow is going to be the same as it was last year. as long as they have some other way of ID verification with a driver's license that occurs at some other point during the con. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not they implement the tap in, tap out system, or they just say, let's run it like it was last year and trust all of our other verification methods that we put in place.
I think if they want to really kind of stamp down on the scalping, which in the communication we've had with David Glanzer so far, that is their primary concern. I think they are going to introduce tap in, tap out, because but it's whereabouts in the convention center that's going to happen, and if it is just going to be for the convention center, because at the end of the day that is the prime core of Comic-Con. So is it going to happen at the outer doors of the convention center? Is there going to be just one door? Because obviously once the doors are fully open, there's lots of ways to actually get into that outer corridor.
Right. Will it happen in the lines prior to the doors opening? And the other thing is that CCI doesn't like us knowing the numbers. I mean, they're historically anti-number. So the question comes, are they going to want, if they use a third-party system to manage the RFID information, are they going to want that company to know how many people were physically in the building at any particular time during the convention? I'm not so sure about that. Now, I would love to see the tap in, tap out, but I'm also one of those people that has lined up very early to get into the convention floor and know how fast the crowd moves and would hate to see anything hinder that. So it's got to, I'm assuming that the tap in would have to be at the door. Sure. As opposed to at the entrance of the exhibit hall. Yeah.
Carol Hansen has jumped in on the Q&A. Salt Lake, mails RFID wristbands, and then you have to validate its number with your account to activate it. We did have to tap in and out. Someone did actually pick up on the questions that I sent to David Glanzer, stating that I put, or he put, no comment on. I asked which company is going to be actually administrating the RFID. He didn't comment, and I suspect it's more about the case of he doesn't want to reveal too much information. I asked because I wanted to know which company was actually going to be involved in that, whether it's going to be Epic themselves or another third company that we're going to be having to deal with, because I wanted to know what their history was and what kind of background they had in our RFID and what their track record was. So that's the reason why I think they said no comment on that. We've had a comment or question from Jimmy David. It says, where do the badges end up going and how's that going to work? It says that they go to the person paying, but why mail one person's badge to two different people, or one person, two different people, sorry, he says in his question, that isn't even the person who they belong to? Why not just mail them individually to the person whose name is on the badge? I think it's more a case of, it's a cost-cutting exercise as well, that you're only sending one badge to, say, 3 badges to one person. So you're not sending out 3 separate mails. It kind of reduces the cost in that regard. But it also, to me, it reinforces any relationship you have with the people that you're buying for. Either it's going to be your family that you're buying for, which is kind of the ideal scenario, but obviously there's badge teams out there. So it kind of like reinforces that you're not just buying randomly for some stray people out there, that you actually have to bond and trust the person who that that package is going to be sent to. Does that make sense to you, Alyssa?
Yes. No, I absolutely agree. It's heavily, the way the system is currently set up is heavily weighted towards groups that have been in existence for a long period of time. I've been in a group for 3 years. I trust I would buy a badge for anybody in there, and everybody in there is cool with buying a badge for anybody else because they know that it's going to be okay. I'm a little concerned, I have to admit, especially come Gen Reg with a newer forming badge buying group, what's going to happen. And I'm trying to put in place as many security methods, and I've instructed all of my group leaders to be very aware and very concerned and address the issue full on, because it is a point. Now, if one person gets in and buys for a family of 3, it's a non-issue because they just put in that family of 3's email address, or a group of 3 friends, for example. Say I got in and I knew 3 people that needed a badge and they were all buddies, so that was a non-issue there. So the mailing. The mailing of badges, I think is, as you said, was a cost-effective way of doing it. Plus, I think it's also there was somebody who put this out there, and I'm frankly almost don't want to say it, but it may be because I don't want to scare people, but it may be. And it was kind of confusing the way this went, but there may be a rationalization to start segueing away from pre-reg.
Right. Okay.
Right. Let me see where I can. Let me try and find that.
Take a deep breath. And away you go.
Yeah, and away I go. Let's see. Oh, the rationale was that if. Let me find the information. Hang on one second. Can you talk for a moment as I threw that tidbit out, and now I'm blushing. Remember what the rationale was for that.
I'll leave you to it. Have a look at that, and we'll quickly talk about some of the other questions that have come up when it came to mailing of badges. Someone has actually asked about when are they going to get shipped, because they don't want it to be too early, in that it will give people opportunity to either resell, scalp, or giving people enough time to gain those RFID badges. But then again, people are also concerned if it's too close to Comic-Con 2016, whether us as pre-registration buyers, or if you are buying for pre-registration, if those badges are going to be mailed out as part of the open online badge sale. Whether it's going to be closer to July. People are obviously concerned if, say, for example, they're heading into San Diego a little bit early on holiday, or just how close it's going to be. I think it's going to be shortly after the open online. They are going to do it in one blanket mail outing. I also think that they're going to, at this point, I mean, the one thing that we did get from David is that they are, at this point, looking at all options. They're not just rushing into this. They have tried their best to think every option through, and that includes the technology of RFID. So they are making sure that they're keeping everything in place.
I want to jump in on that one. I'll come back to the pre-reg thing. I'm going to make a prediction here in that I think it's going to be after May 13th. May 13th is the return date.
Right.
And it would make sense to me that they would put it. They wouldn't send out the badges until they've finalized the return.
Sure. Okay, no, that makes sense. Because it's also pointless sending out an expensive piece of technology to somebody who isn't then going to use it. So no, that makes sense. I
mean, they recently changed the return date. I think the return date, if I recall correctly, was later on in May, and they just changed it to the 13th a week or two ago. So it's been a recent event, that change. So that's my prediction. Hold me to it.
Okay.
Roast me over the fire if I'm wrong.
No, it's a perfectly valid suggestion. Comments on the Q&A coming in. Chris Haggish, turning around, tap in, tap out has to be in place. Otherwise, there is no point in deactivating a badge like they said they could do if the mailman takes it. He's absolutely right. For me, I think tap in, tap out has to be in place. It's just where. Is it going to be on the outer doors, or is it going to be on the entrance to the actual exhibition floor? If that's the case, then if it's going to be on the exhibition floor, how does that stop people then just wandering around the floor? It's where is that demarcation line going to be? I think that's going to be an interesting point. And does that mean that they're just going to have 1 or 2 doors open for people? Who knows?
One thing that was very clear was that we don't know everything yet. They are keeping information from us at this point because they haven't finalized everything. They don't know everything yet, which I find refreshing to hear somebody say we're not absolutely sure how this is going to work, but this is what but we are thinking it through. So I expect that we'll hear all of that stuff, and that they probably have got some well thought out plans down the road coming. That we'll hear about shortly.
Sure. Let's see if there's anything else in terms of mailing out badges. Once again, do jump in on the Q&A. Do jump in on the Twitter as well. If there's any questions you want to send us, we are monitoring that throughout the course of this Hangout. For example, we've got a question here from Joe Rob. What if a non-US resident buys for 2 US residents? Where does it get sent? It's an excellent question. At the end of the day, I suspect that they'll contact you in much the same way that if there's any issues with credit cards, they'll turn around and say that they'll get in contact with you, and that's the kind of thing that they then start ironing out after the event. I suspect it's more a case of they will contact you and say, right, you've got 2 American addresses here. Where do you want them sent? Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be that a case. And in terms of non-US residents, I don't think you'll be getting your badges anyway. It's something you're going to be picking those up at the convention center on preview night or the first day. That's the way the international is going to happen. I think they're not going to get mailed anywhere, in my opinion. So, for example, in that particular situation, I think there'll be 2 badges. They'll be requested to send to an American address, and then the third person will take a barcode to the international buyer, will take their barcode to the sales pavilion on whatever day, and they'll get their badge then. That's what I think is going to happen. Does that make sense?
It does. To go back to the whole pre-reg thing that I brought up earlier, the thought was that if there was no tap in, tap out, how would you verify that you were at the convention? Sure. And a couple of ways that people had thought that might occur would be by requiring a badge, you to tap in when you picked up your bag and book, and or perhaps even had a kiosk like they did similar to 2010, I think 2011, where you had the on-site badge buying, where it require you to tap in at that on-site kiosk at some point over the weekend, show your ID verification to prove that I am Alyssa, and this is, just so that you can say because we are trying to bring this out to CCI, so you can say to somebody, say I bought a badge for a buddy and they didn't show up. I still have that badge, but what's to stop me from just tapping him in and out to prove that he was indeed at the convention for those 4 days? Therefore, he'd be eligible for pre-reg the following year without that ID verification. So in addition to the tap in, tap out, there's how do you validate yourself for pre-reg the following year. So I think that's another aspect of the tap in, tap out and validation issue that needs to be thought through, that will be thought through.
That makes sense. Comments on the Q&A, Dan Berry, outer doors or placing the tap in, tap out on the outer doors would be tough for all the non-SDCC attendees. Dan, if anyone's going to the San Diego Convention Center during Comic-Con and they're not attending San Diego Comic-Con, I think they're in the wrong town. Possibly. That's what I would say to that. He also does, however, say the last field in the example that SDCC or CCI had put a shipping address field. Yes, it is there for the mailing out of the person who has made the purchase of those badges for the 3 attendees or however many that they're buying for. Like I say, for international attendees, I don't think that they'll be mailed out. And if you are an international attendee which has which has bought badges for 2 American members of your badge team, I think you'll be contacted. And I think at the end of the day, as an international attendee, you'll have to go and get your badge collected at Sales Pavilion, and the Americans will get theirs sent to their address. That's what I think. Right. He meant employees. I think they'll have their own, possibly. I think everyone will have a badge or an ID. I think everyone's going to get one of these. I don't think it's just going to be people who have bought badges. So, okay.
One other thing that is somewhat of a digression from the concept, from the theme of mailing, is a return badge. If people want to verify this and double check it, in the new return badge form, the EPIC ID confirmation number is now required for a return of a badge. That's just to get that out there so people know what's happening.
If you have any other questions about mailing of badges, now's the time to ask. We will return to it, but we do want to move through a number of the topics that have been brought up with the questions. Very quickly, Eliza, Teresa, I really like the idea of these RFID badges, but I'm afraid that they will make lines even longer. That's a question that I actually put to David when I first heard about RFID, because I did hear about the problems that New York Comic Con had, in that they were trying to get all these people onto or into the building, and they only had, say, just a small number of people doing the tap in, tap out. I did ask if they were going to be increasing volunteers or staff to do this, and to kind of get as many people on the tap in, tap out situations as possible. He turned around and said, at this point, we're 8 months out. We haven't finalized all the details. It does sound, however, that they are thinking about how to get as many people manning those spaces as possible. Yes. Okay. The other option, so the other topics that we have then, let's have a look. We had scalping.
Ah, yes, scalping.
Yes, indeed. Right,
yes, indeed.
Do you want to start with this?
Sure. My biggest concern, and from what CCI has said before, is that their biggest concern is not so much somebody selling their badge to somebody else. It's the copying of the other badge. So the RFID system and the plastic badges are certainly a lot more secure than the paper badges of last year. However, they still can be copied. I'm not sure how easy it is to copy an RFID chip. However, I do know that there is a proliferation of RFID wallets out there to prevent the copying of information off of your credit card. Now, I'm assuming that a credit card RFID chip is going to be more secure than a Comic-Con badge, which it ups the level of technology. So I think that the actual wholesale copying of badges and the reselling of the copied badges will diminish. However, if that occurs, the person who buys it from a scalper is going to get a rude awakening when they go to the door, and it doesn't work. So that's, yeah, I mean, that's the scary.
That kind of came up in the frequently asked questions that were posted on the Talkin blog. Comic-Con has always taken a very active role in monitoring scalping activity, both online and on site. We've discovered that the majority of badges being sold on the aftermarket are counterfeit. The Comic-Con member ID system and the high level of demand do make it very difficult for scalpers to purchase more than a couple of badges. So unscrupulous sellers have resorted to creating their own. RFID technology will help us eliminate the counterfeit badges that are being sold to unsuspecting customers, and also allow us to turn off RFID badges that were lost, stolen, or undelivered. It is something that they are absolutely looking forward to. Not looking forward to. It's something that they're anticipating.
And if they do indeed do the tap in, tap out system, it will catch it on a daily basis.
Yeah.
It's whether or not the catching everything that day is worth the slowing down of the line movements. And I'm not sure where they're going to go on that. I would like to say that they're going to that it will move as quickly as possible. However, I'm not absolutely sure about that. So the counterfeit thing, I think, is the primary thing that CCI is worried about.
Yeah.
And whether or not the scalpers are going to figure out how to manufacture these chips and do a reasonable counterfeit of the plastic badges, I'm not sure.
I suspect it would be a very similar setup to the counterfeiting of the badges in their current situation anyway.
Oh, well, that was just pretty much a Xerox.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
But the other thing here is that if you what's to prevent somebody from simply saying, "Oh, I lost mine in the mail," go to the con, get a second badge, sell the first one. There's no, yes, it's turned off. Yes, the person is not going to be able to do anything with it. The person who bought it off of the scalper. However, it's still, the scalper has their money.
Well,
so
that unfortunately would be a risk, as if you bought a scalp's ticket anyway.
Right.
Frankly, if you bought a scalp ticket and you found yourself ripped off, let me wipe these one small tear away. Unfortunately, that's my particular take on it.
Yeah.
Two very good questions that have come up actually regarding this. Carl Clement has asked, how would you get child badges? I think it's very much in the same way that the international badges are going to be distributed. At the end of the day, there's still going to be a number of those tables open to get badges.
It's on site.
It's going to be on site. So that's,
it's absolutely. I did read that someplace, and I don't recall where, but I know that it was from an official source that was saying that the only way to do child badges was on site. So you've still got to bring in the verification, any of the normal verification information, and provide the phone numbers and all of that sort of things. Okay.
And the other couple of comments. I'm not too sure how to pronounce your first name. Elysia. I'll go with the Elysia Teresa. RFID tags are very easy to copy, but as long as each badge tag has a unique RFID code and tap in, tap out is enforced, it will be very hard to use a counterfeit badge, but this will slow down lines. I understand where you're going. I think it's just more a case of the policing of that, and you're right. But then again, this is something we're going to be talking about in terms of wristbands generally, because I think they just need to increase the number of bodies on the floor. Frankly, that's just my opinion on that. This would be, let's see, another couple. Would it be on site for senior military badges too? Yeah, I think that's very much like child badges as well. Thank you very much indeed for your question, Carol. If you want to address this.
I'm not sure about that. Because aren't senior and military bought through the system?
I was under the impression that there may be some on-site thing for that.
I'm not confident of that. I believe that that seniors are treated like juniors are, which is through the regular system. Right. I'm not sure about military though.
Okay. That's something that we can bring up with David at some point and just clarify that. Okay, I assume that it would be an on-site thing, if anything, because of military IDs. But okay, we'll take that. We've also got a comment from Chris Haggish, if you'd like to tackle this one, Alyssa. Now that they can turn off a badge, Chris is fine, leave him alone. Now that they can turn off a badge if lost, stolen, or whatever, will CCI think about reducing the cost for a replacement badge? As it stands now, you must rebuy all remaining days at full price. Is that the case?
Yes. That's how it was last year. You had to buy whatever was left. I don't think so, Chris. They didn't. The first year they had RFID in New York, I was able to get a replacement badge for Lewis, who lost his because he was 15, and Can't stop playing with those things. But the point being is that the next year, last year, 2015, it was a full replacement cost for the days that were there. Sure. So, and the way it was explained to me, because I asked in private one of, those questions, the way it was explained to me was what I was talking about earlier, is that what people will do is they'll go up and they'll say they lost their badge. They'll get a new one that works. They'll put it in their pocket. They'll take their old badge and they'll sell it. It's mind-bogglingly vile to me to do that, because I don't like it when people are, when they're deceptive, they actually hurt other people and they're stealing money from people. But as you said, you're buying from a scalper. So
yeah. Mrs. Little saying, and there is the buyer beware warning. No sympathy here. No, I'm right with you on that one. We've had a comment. I mean, it's very Dan Berry again. What if someone sells their badge, like always happens? They get the dollars, and then they report it stolen, missing, not delivered. They get a new one, and they get to keep the dollars. True, but at the end of the day, one of the duplicate badge somewhere along the line will get turned off. So someone is going to be caught on their tap out at some point. I appreciate what you're saying, but I think the tap in, tap out, as long as it's policed, as long as it's enforced, I think whoever mentioned that earlier is absolutely right.
Chris did. One other thing that we haven't talked about with regards to badges is exhibitor badges. And how is that going to work, especially with the tap in, tap out? And will we still see the people from the varying booths with their handful of lanyards and badges walking out the door to go find their mules and bring them back?
Here's my suggestion. Okay, if CCI end up watching this, here's my suggestion. Exhibitor badges, just give them straightforward printed badges. Not a problem at all. Just a straightforward printed badge. And then give them a wristband that they have to put on first thing on the morning. It's the moment they walk through the door, first thing, they get an exhibit a wristband, and that stays on all day. Otherwise, they're not an exhibitor. If they are seen with an exhibitor badge without a wristband, they're kicked out. In that way, they can't do lineups. They can't gain any systems that they have, and it's okay. A red sticker, a red right there.
Totally.
A hat. A big
How about
hat.
a W? No. A W. We need a W.
A big hat with exhibitor on it. They have to wear it. No, I wristband.
Okay, the Walking Dead fans will understand why I'm saying the W. Okay.
Fair enough. Okay. That's my suggestion. It was brought up at the talkback, and I think it was a great idea.
Rashan brought that up, and brilliant. And he did a fabulous little dance too. That was just brilliant. So
something that's been brought up, Jean Taylor Lecaro, have they addressed one way or another if they're going to be charging for shipping the badges? No, they haven't, and I don't know if they will. I can't think that they can. At the end of the day, you've made the purchase. You've kind of made that financial contract to buy the badge. To add an additional tax, as it were, I think is a bit. I think it would be. I personally think it would be unfair.
Well, they raised the rates by $5 a day, so that should cover the shipping.
Absolutely.
But they haven't addressed it.
No, they haven't. I mean, it's something that it's a great question, and we will keep that to one side for David. Is there anything else in terms of scalping?
I'm not sure about that. I'm going to go back to mailing of badges. I would highly encourage anybody who's doing a mailing to use priority mail with delivery confirmation. You want to make sure that you have a way of tracking that package. I know it's simple.
Wouldn't that be? That's going to be administrated by CCI. That's going to be their choice, surely.
No. I'm talking if, say, I buy badges for two of my buddies. And I'm shipping them cross country.
Mailing on to other people. Right. Okay.
Mailing on to other people. Sorry.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Great, Marvel Morris. It's a great branding opportunity with the mailed RFID badges, like the Reed Pop badges. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have to help me out with that. I haven't actually seen a NYCC badge. Period.
Oh, well, I don't want to leave you in the lurch for a few minutes while I go downstairs to get mine. But I mean, they're typical. They're about this size, and they have The Walking Dead sponsors it, so they've got some really cool. I mean, of course, the one I like the most is the Michonne or the Carol badges. But you know, there's some, you know, you got the zombies, or you got a bunch of other things. So yeah, Marvel wants to jump in and do the branding. That would be very cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Tamara Gold, I agree on the wristbands for exhibitors 100%. Thank you very much indeed. If anyone else does, let me know, because the more people we can get to back that idea will be great. Let's see what else. Okay, and Carl Clement is saying, my guess is that you would have to sign to get your badge by mail. Possibly. That's down to what CCI decide on how much they want to spend on the mailing options, I suspect. At the end of the day, they'll be wanting to keep the price down as much as possible for that. Okay, so that's scamming. If there's any other questions that want to jump in on that, please do let us know. I think we've kind of covered international mailing to the vast majority in that people have been asking how international mailing is going to happen. It simply isn't, by the way. It's only going to get mailed to US, North America attendees. At the end of the day, it's like I say, it's down to that consolidation and the trust formed of a badge team that, say, for example, if an American member badge team which had a international member bought the badges would be mailed to them, and there would have to be a level of trust that when the international attendee got to the US, they would get their badge from that person. It's tough, I know, but at the end of the day, it does reinforce the whole badge sale and the badge team ethos. Random people just jumping in on badge teams, it's going to be problematic whatever happens, because at the end of the day, you're trusting somebody to buy your badge for you. I do like the comment from Dan Berry. If you don't trust them, just tell CCI that it was not delivered and just get a new one, and they can deactivate the old one, right? That's very devious of you, sir.
So did you address the fact that if say you got in, you bought for yourself, your wife, and your friend who lives down the road in England, could you put, in theory, my address on that?
I suspect that's the case, yes.
And then I could just send... Yeah,
well, then, I mean, you could mail them internationally, but I kind of don't see the point.
Well, there's it's twofold. One, either I could have your badges in hand so that I could give them to you on Tuesday without you having to pick them up, or
sure.
Two, I could send them to you via Airmail International. And yes, it would be an additional cost. However, you would have the badges. Yes, but you would have them in your hand in what I'm thinking is at the end of May.
You know what? I wouldn't, if you are watching this from the UK, I wouldn't be that bothered about getting a badge. I've got a badge in my hand. Well,
you wouldn't.
That's right up there with saying, oh, I've got a printout of a barcode.
Who's to say, since they're changing everything, who's to say they're going to have the badge pickup open at the same time they did last year? True. You don't know. They could open up the badge pickup. I mean, I don't think they're going to do this, but they could open it up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So you've got, if you're an international, if you're a pickup, a will call, you got to wait in that line before you can even wait in the line to get into the exhibit hall if you're looking for exclusives on preview night.
True. So at the end of the day, we would have been lining up anyway, and we're still going to be having to line up anyway for badges, for bags, and for exhibitors' guides. So,
right. But you wouldn't do that the first night. I mean, I'm not going to pick up my bag the first night. That's I don't know, but I'm not a big bag. I'm not a bag fanatic either, you know. So anyway, I don't know if there's anything else for the international people. Did you go over the fact that you don't have to enter your postal code, or?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
But
I don't know if you want to do that.
I do remember that was covered. Sorry,
okay.
that has been mentioned by somebody. Do you want to just cover that?
No, you can't, because I don't remember it. I don't have to use it.
Fair enough. No, as far as I'm aware, there was it was, as far as I'm aware, you do. I'm trying to remember how this was worded.
You could put anything in there, can't you? You
could. You could.
Sorry. Was I not supposed to say it that way?
No, you really shouldn't. No. Okay.
Okay. This is why I was wanting you to do it.
Fair enough. In terms of international mailing, in terms of mailing address, you're right. I think that is going to be completely null and void. But I think what they are going to do is, if you do put in a UK address, they're going to contact you and say, that address is just not valid for us. We're not going to be sending it there. You either come and collect it, or you get it sent to an American buddy.
Well, no, I mean, I was primarily thinking about the credit card, the credit card.
Yeah, I think looking at the form, I mean, they improved this last year as well. That you do have to put your the correct billing address in there, and the form has been corrected. Certainly 2 years ago, there were issues in terms of putting in because it didn't recognise what the format of the mailing code was. It didn't recognise the format. The new form, and it did last year, it does recognise the British format of 4 characters, 3 characters. So you can, certainly for the mailing, for the billing address, it does recognise it.
So I just have to repeat Chris Haggish's post on the Q&A. Don't bother with wristbanding them. Just brand them with a nice hot brand with the letters SDCC on it.
Well, no, because international, certainly from the UK, you should be having your UK attendees T-shirt on anyway. So everyone should know that you're coming from the UK anyway. That's it, because you should be taking part in the San Diego Comic-Con UK attendees group on Facebook, where we have our own special T-shirts, and we just announced that we're UK anyway. No branding required.
One other question that came up on the forum was, and this is a logistics at the con kind of an issue, sure, is a lot of the vendors will stamp your badge. If it is a lanyard, how are they going to stamp it? So we're kind of wondering how Hasbro is going to do that and so forth. So that will be interesting to see how the different vendors deal with it.
I can almost guarantee that when they do actually determine what they're going to do in terms of the technologies, the badges, the lanyards, the badge covers, the next thing they'll do is then tell the various companies and say, okay, this is what you need to do. Because, I mean, the one thing I remember, certainly from the talkback, and you'll remember this, Alyssa, as well, CCI absolutely hate those first 100 people to our booth competitions. They hate the way that they force you to kind of get to their booth at a certain time. I mean, I personally suggested the whole thing of actually just taking the selection of, say, a draw or anything that a company runs and taking it off site. I think the way that they did the swag, the CCI swag room this year, oh sorry, last year, well no, this year, get it right, 2015, through the back door of the Hyatt and into this kind of like funneled system. Get it off the, get it out of the building, get it out of the convention center and run it elsewhere, I think would be a better idea.
But you're not, but there are certain vendors that are not, you're not going to be able to do that with, like the Hasbro There's a few of the other ones too that actively use the back of the badge to mark things off. Hasbro is the biggest one because they'll actually mark off, you got a Devastator, you got a Marvel, you got a this, you got an Ant-Man, you got a this, and they would allow you to get back in line and get the items that you didn't get, but that was all based on the back of your badge.
Yeah.
So it's not, and if that's a slick surface that doesn't accept ink, you're not going to be able to do that. So it will be interesting to see how those little hiccups last through there.
It's possible that you could be getting a plastic cover along with now your badge, with your bag and your souvenir guides.
I think one of my forum members who is on the hangout here in New York said it the best. Dr. Who 42, Kevin, said is there's going to be hiccups. It's going to be new. It's going to be different. But hopefully things will be kept to a minimum.
Sure. Tamara Gold. Very quickly as well, just to correct myself with Chris Haggish's comment. I think he was talking about the branding of exhibitors, not the branding of UK attendees.
Right, exactly.
But the thing is, I know that suggestion's been bandied about as well. All right, not taking it personal, but there we go. No, branding of exhibitors. It's something we can talk about. Right, we've got somebody, this Tamara Gold, so they will not mail to Canada. I guess they feel that they're not under international. Yeah. At the end of this, it's understandable.
Okay, I'm just saying I live 2 hours from the border. I feel your pain. I deal with international shipping to 2 hours away from me all the time. I feel your pain. I know what you're going through, and I've tried to figure out a way around it.
Yeah. This is an interesting one. I like this. This is Michael Leventhal. Do we think the RFIDs will be used in other ways? Hall H instead of wristbands? It's a great idea. It's a great idea. The only thing is, they said that they were using wristbands as a monitoring thing. That's their primary goal of using the wristband, so they could see where 6,500 people stopped in the line, and they could then tell people back of that line, you're more than likely not going to get in. That's the primary idea of the wristbands. But it's a novel idea. It's an interesting way of using the RFID technology.
They didn't use it that way at New York Con. They use the standard Tyvek wristband at New York Con. Even so, my guess would be no, but I certainly they certainly use it in the Lego minifig line. And I'm assuming that if you tried to go through the Lego minifig line twice in one day under one badge, that you would have gotten booted the second time. That's my guess. So individual exhibitors may be able to, and they may be able to find a way of dealing with it in other, perhaps panels that would be interesting. That's an interesting question.
Sure. Chris Haggish, maybe those booths can rescan the RFID instead of stamping it. What else? This is Ms. Teresa. If CCI gives them access to the RFID tag codes, they could use those to log those electronically. I think people are very interested to see how this RFID technology is going to be implemented. And you're right, you could do something a little bit more creative with them. In terms of, Chris Haggish is saying the problem for using it for Hall H is someone can just swap badges, unless they plan on IDing each person at the Hall H doors. Yeah.
I love my devious friends.
I know, it's fun, isn't it? Dan Berry, I just used a Sharpie on my C2E2 Repop plastic badge from 2015. It just wiped off.
Exactly.
This is down, however, to who they're going to be using for the RFID technology. Are they going to be using maybe there's a paperback? Who knows? Yeah. It's down to who they choose.
It's not who they're using for the RFID technology. It's who they're using for the actual lanyard.
Yeah.
The actual physical badge.
Sure.
You know, and whether or not they can get a surface on the back of it that's porous enough to accept the ink, the permanent ink.
Yeah.
Which would be interesting. Interesting
Fine.
question.
Let's see if there's anything else. No, I think I've already covered that one, which is the they comment about when do they plan on mailing out the badges, by the way. That was from YDNAM on Facebook. So thank you very much indeed for that question. Mel Shaw, I want to know why they don't just mail the badges to the address associated with each member ID is bought for, just like they email the barcode to each individual. In other words, why is there the second mailing form on the pre-registration purchase and indeed the open online, which I'm guessing will be identical. I would personally say it would be a massive amount of mail to process. What CCI are doing are quite clever, that they're shifting the burden onto the badge teams. So for example, if you're a family, it's going to just one address. If you're a badge team, it's another level of trust, and it results in a third of the potential mailing cost. So that's that was my take on that. Right.
I'm just checking the forum to see if I can spot any other questions.
Stragglers, yeah.
Stragglers. I will say that there is the tech check link that is buried in one of those.
Yeah, I'm going to be finding that and mailing that out, because we did have the technical Q&A email that went out today just before we went live. I don't know if you caught that, but basically he's talking about it's a rather amusing checklist. Doctor, how was it worded again? It was.
Here it is. Yeah, I did get. Oh my God, it's long. However, there is. I'm just looking to see in there to see whether or not in there. Oh, they've got the waiting room link. And I'm not sure whether or not there is the tech check in there to make sure that you're able to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, is that a hint on the T-shirt? Oh, possibly. Please let that be a hint on the T-shirt. I like the toucan shirts.
Yeah, I like the toucans as well. Yeah, you're right. There isn't a tech check yet, but I do know that. Oh yeah. That's another thing as well. The San Diego Comic-Con unofficial blog have posted, I believe, a link to a tech check. I'll try and find that and retweet that out as well. They are going to be doing live reporting of the pre-registration badge sale as well. We're big. Well, I'm a fan of the unofficial blog and what they do at the moment. So yeah, do watch that, and especially to keep an eye on how the whole badge processing is going. They'll be monitoring it live. They'll certainly be monitoring when certain badge sales and badge days will be selling out. So yeah, do check in on their webpage, because they will have a link to their live show that will be happening on Saturday. We'll be doing a show on Sunday to cover all the aftermath of what happened on Saturday. I think we've pretty much covered all the questions as on the Q&A. Oh, hang on. There is a tech check in the email that CCI checked today, sent today. Yes, the emails are going out as well. Do check your inboxes as well, because they are going out. Okay.
I just posted it on the Q&A too.
Excellent.
So and my computer passed. Woohoo! I'm all ready.
Okay. Chris Tagish, if the ink goes onto the holder and not the badge, there will be a market for trading stamped for unstamped lanyards. Okay.
Like I said earlier, love my devious friends.
And yes, I've had a clarification about how to use, say the first name is Eli, by the way. Doesn't D23 attendees just scan their RFID tag to reserve a spot in a room? I think it still have to get there by a specific time, but that way they know how many seats are available. This is another thing that they could be discussing in terms of how they can use it for Hall H, and I guarantee, I mean, it's like I've always said, every decision that they make is to try and keep the lines down as much as humanly possible, and it's very possible that they could do something with that.
actually, another thought is that if you tap in and tap out in each individual room, it'll give an accurate count of
they won't have to have volunteers go up and down aisles anymore, checking off ticks as to who's in the room. You're absolutely right. It really would make. I mean, it would feel a little bit draconian in places, constantly having to scan your badge. But you're right. I think it could solve a lot of problems.
And that actually may be one of the reasons, one of the tipping points for getting it over, for them to move into the RFID technology.
I guarantee the fire marshals had a word as well.
Yes. Yep. I mean, absolutely. I mean, you see in 6 BCF, we've hit our 2,000 limit regardless of whether or not. So how would bathroom passes? It
all dovetails around, doesn't it?
Yep.
Okay. Right. I think, however, we have covered most, if not all, of the questions that have been brought up. I know that a lot of people have talked about how things can kind of get worked around, and I'm certain that CCI are thinking on this. We are hopefully going to be having another kind of report back from David Glanzer off the back of this conversation, and certainly some of the things that we've talked about in this hangout. Thank you very much indeed for watching. If you are taking part in the pre-registration badge sale on Saturday, all I can say is fingers crossed for you. Be the cheerio, best of luck, and all I can say is I hope we can see you in San Diego next July. Once again, thank you very much indeed to Alyssa. Oh, have you got one more thing?
One more thing. Well, just don't be my Cheerio, because my Cheerio sinks. So that's be a floating Cheerio. So you get scooped up by that spoon. Good luck on Saturday, everybody.
Yeah. Everyone, thank you very much indeed for taking part. We're back again on Sunday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. East Coast, and 6 p.m. GMT. It's also going to be a Thought Bubble special, as I'm going to be reporting live from Thought Bubble Sequential Art Festival in Leeds. It's going to be kind of like a wrap-up of what's been seen and heard at possibly the most, the biggest comics creators-based event that takes place here in the UK, and I can't wait. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, I just don't understand why you think that we're going to be talking about that and not pre-reg.
We're going to be talking about Thought Bubble a bit. Okay, fine. All right. Okay.
See you everybody on Sunday.
Take care and best of luck.
Bye-bye. Best of luck.